Hey, Shalom family, and welcome to another new moon, new month, which starts the beginning of a month per Yahweh's calendar and Yahweh's system that he set up. You know, we often talk amongst ourselves, and a lot of times we get new people, and it's always the question of how do you know when Yahweh's talking to you, or how do you know when Yahweh's dealing with you? So if you pay attention, you can always tell Yahweh's will versus your own will. We're preparing this class. The topic came to me a week ago. I sit down, I'm getting ready to do the class. Put the class together, and I'm sitting there and I'm looking at the topic, and I'm like, okay, what's this topic? So I decide, you know what? Let me do something else. So, you know, we got unleavened cleaning, unleavened bread coming up. So I said, man, I'll do something about unleavened bread. You know, and I unleavened cleaning, which is familiar. Taking the easy way out. Open my laptop. And I'm looking at the laptop, and I'm looking at the laptop, and I'm looking at the laptop, and nothing's coming. I just keep looking at the laptop and the topic. Finally, I go, you know what? Man, forget this. Let me pull this thing back up. I pull this back up, and all of a sudden it's pull this scripture out, go on the internet, get that, get that, get that, get that. Okay, got it. Now, the next part is, how do you walk in the Spirit? That was walking in the Spirit afterwards. They said, nah, this is what you need to go do. So you follow what the Spirit tell you to go do. At that point of just looking at the laptop, that was Yahweh saying no. Go do what I said to do. Don't try to take the easy way out trying to go do what you want to do because you don't understand the topic. I'll give you what you need when it's necessary. You're on a need-to-know basis. So if we sit down and we pay attention and watch our movements, we can tell when Yahweh's guiding us versus when we're trying to force something. The topic of tonight's class is attempts to discredit the author and finisher. Attempts to discredit the author and finisher. My brother, can you read that first set of writing there, priest?
Creation of the earth. Big Bang Theory. What is the Big Bang Theory? The Big Bang Theory explains how the universe began. The Big Bang Theory stands as the most widely accepted explanation for the origin of the universe. According to this theory, the universe began as an infinitely small, hot, and dense point, which rapidly expanded and continued to stretch over 13.7 billion years. This initial period of rapid inflation set the stage for the vast and still growing cosmos we observe today. Although astronomers cannot directly witness the universe formation, much of what we know about the Big Bang Theory comes from advanced mathematical models and simulations. Evidence supporting this theory includes the cosmic microwave background, a faint echo of the universe, early expansion that scientists can study in detail, which the Big Bang Theory is widely supported within the scientific community. Some researchers purpose alternative ideas, such as eternal inflation or a cyclical oscillating universe. These theories aim to address questions the Big Bang does not fully resolve, keeping the debate about the universe origin alive and dynamic.
So here, this is a theory to address the Big Bang Theory of how the world was created, when all we got to do is go in the scriptures. But this is man trying to make himself something when he's not. Because you don't understand it, just like with the topic and the title. I didn't understand it, but Yahweh said, no, this is what you need to go do. And we spend so much time chasing our tails when a lot of times the thing is right there in front of us, simple, plain. Go ahead.
This startling idea first appeared in scientific form in 1931 in a paper by Georges Lemaitre, a Belgian cosmologist and Catholic priest.
Now that part I had to say was a surprise. Then I said, no, a Catholic priest. The person you're supposed to be able to, or was set up to be a reference to what's written in the scriptures, was the one who came up and gave you this Big Bang Theory, completely going against what's written in Scripture. Surprise, surprise. But yet this is who most Christians put their trust in, is this Catholic setup of things. This is a Catholic priest who should know the book and should have been teaching from the book, who decides he's going to come up with another theory outside of what's written in the book, going against what Yahweh set up and what Yahweh gave Moshe to write down. Let's go to Genesis chapter 1, and we're going to start at verse 1. We're going to read verses 1 through 17.
Verse 1. In the beginning, Elohim created the heaven and the earth. And the earth was without form and void, and darkness was upon the face of the deep. And the spirit of Elohim moved upon the face of the waters. And Elohim said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And Elohim saw the light, that it was good, and Elohim divided the light from the darkness. And Elohim called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And the evening and the morning were the first day. And Elohim said, "Let there be a firmament in the midst of the water, and let it divide the waters from the waters." And Elohim made the firmament, and divided the waters which were under the firmament from the waters which were above the firmament, and it was so. And Elohim called the firmament heaven, and the evening and the morning were the second day. And Elohim said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear." And it was so. And Elohim called the dry land earth, and the gathering together of the waters called he seas. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, "Let the earth bring forth grass, the herb yielding seed, and the fruit tree yielding fruit after his kind, whose seed is in itself upon the earth." And it was so. And the earth brought forth grass, and herb yielding seed after his kind, and the tree yielding fruit, whose seed was in itself after his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And the evening and the morning were the third day. And Elohim said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be for signs, and for seasons, and for the days and years. And let them be for lights in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth." And it was so. And Elohim made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day, and the lesser light to rule the night. He made the stars also. And Elohim set them in the firmament of the heaven to give light upon the earth.
So right here we have the whole breakdown of the creation of the earth. In the reading of the Big Bang, it said, while the Big Bang theory is widely supported with the scientific community, some researchers propose alternative ideas. We don't need no alternative ideas. Yahweh made it plain and clear how he created it and how he put it together. He didn't leave a guessing game. But now here you go with this scientific community that they still have holes in their story that they can't explain. There's no holes in Yahweh's story. He told you how he did it, what day he did it, and how he set everything together. But this is man can't accept creation as it is. They got to come up with their own theory, not only to mention just any man, a priest, supposedly, of all people. So the topic is attempts to discredit the author and finisher. So the word author, Christes, from G2936, a founder, that is God or Elohim, as author of all things, creator. The next word, finisher, teleotes, from G5048, a completer, that is consummator, finisher. Now, consummator, according to Oxford Languages, is showing a high degree of skill and flair, complete or perfect. Yahweh didn't leave no holes in his story. My brother, can you, I'll get this. Parts of the Hebrew Bible were written in perhaps the 10th century BCE. The final reaction and canonization of the Torah, the first 5 books of the Bible, most likely took place during the Babylonian exile, 6th to 5th century BCE. The entire Hebrew Bible was complete by about 100 CE. The books of the New Testament were written in the 1st and 2nd century CE. Somehow, in 1931, a Catholic priest was able to come up with such a theory, one that goes completely against the scripture he's supposed to be upholding. Let's not forget Darwin's theory of evolution. My brother, can you read that next set of reading there for me, please?
Charles Darwin's theory of evolution by natural selection was published in 1859 in his book On the Origin of Species. On the Origin of Species was an immediate bestseller and caused a firestorm of controversy. It challenged long-held religious and scientific belief. The book detailed Darwin's theory that species evolve over time through natural selection. Darwin's theory was controversial because it contradicted the biblical creation story and implied that life developed naturally. However, opposition to Darwin's theory largely collapsed in the decades following the book's publication. By the end of Darwin's life, the concept of evolution had gained widespread acceptance.
Which simply means people started accepting the thought that man evolved from monkeys. If so be the case, why aren't monkeys still evolving into men? And why haven't men evolved into something else?
Yes, sir. Come on, please.
Now, I was kind of looking at this picture, and I'm looking at the monkey through his stages. Now, the monkey had a black face, right? But somehow this monkey keep evolving and turn into a Caucasian. And I also realized that as the monkey evolved, he never lost facial hair. I found that quite interesting, that he can go from a black face to a white face. So then saying what? The original man was Caucasian, but he started out as a black-faced monkey. I find that very, very interesting. Let's go to Genesis chapter 1, back to Genesis chapter 1, and start at verse 25 for me, please.
25. And Elohim made the beast of the earth after his kind, and the cattle after their kind, and everything that creepeth upon the earth after his kind. And Elohim saw that it was good. And Elohim said, let us make man in our image, after our likeness, and let them have dominion over the fish of the sea, and over the fowl of the air, and over the cattle, and over all the earth, and over every creeping things that creepeth upon the earth.
So do we understand that it says that Elohim said, let us make man in our image and after our likeness? So if we go with Darwin's theory of man coming from monkey, what are you saying about the creator of all things? And then if man can evolve from a monkey, what would the creator of all things have evolved into? I mean, really, we got to think about what these people are putting forth when you're saying that man comes from a monkey and then evolved, but Yahweh said man was made in the image of Elohim, the image of a God. So your first image of a God then would be a monkey? Why when you got monkey pendants running around with them? We have to really be careful about the things that we read. But then when we read these type of things, these theories, we have to really look and see that you're going against what the Creator said, what the Creator put forth. You're discrediting what He said. So a lot of us like to get off into these books and these theories and spread these ideas. We have to be careful what we're co-signing on. Let's go to Job chapter 38, and we're going to read verses 1 through 8. Job chapter 38, we're going to read verses 1 through 18. Because Yahweh kind of touches on some things that kind of reflects right back on mankind and his thought process of what he wants to put forth in his ideas. So Job chapter 38, we're going to start at verse 1.
Verse 1. Then Yahweh answered Job out of the whirlwind and said, Who is this that darkened counsel by words without knowledge? Gird up now your loins like a man, for I will demand of you and answer you me.
So, who is this that darkens counsel by words without knowledge? So when you have a theory, it's a thought process of you not understanding the situation or the thing. That's having no knowledge. So you create something, you come up with a thought process to fit what you want it to fit. Go ahead.
Where was you when I laid the foundation of the earth? Declare, if you has understanding.
There you go. Ask Darwin, where were you when he laid the foundation of the earth? But yet you come up with this thought process because you don't have the knowledge or the understanding. And you have darkened counsel because now these things are being put forth in colleges and schools. These things are now confusing individuals. You are darkening counsel. Go ahead.
Who has laid the measure thereof, if you know, or who has stretched the line upon it, whereupon are the foundation thereof fastened, or who laid the cornerstone thereof?
I mean, you got to understand how deep Yahweh is going in. He said, where were you when I laid the foundations of the earth? Right? Declare you if you have understanding. Who has laid the measures thereof? He's letting you know, I measured this out. He wouldn't ask you if you can measure it if he didn't measure it out. Who has laid the measures thereof, if you know? Or who has stretched out the line upon it? He's letting you know this was perfectly designed and put together. I know the dimensions of this. We can see the same thing when the temple was being built. He said, make it this cubit. Make that this cubit. He wasn't just pulling something out the air. Go ahead.
When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of Elohim shouted for joy.
So now this one, verse 7, when the morning stars sang together and all the sons of Elohim shouted for joy. Remember that back in Genesis where it says, let us make man in our image? When the morning stars sang together and all the sons of Elohim shouted for joy. Us, we're all gathered together in this creation and shouted for joy when the creation came together. Isn't that what we do when we're trying to build something and you see the perfection and you see it come together? Everybody who played a part is happy when it's done? He's explaining that right there. Go ahead.
Or who shut up the sea with doors when it brake forth, as if it had issue out of the womb. When I made the cloud, the garment thereof, and thick darkness a swaddling band for it, and break up for it my decreed place, and set bars and doors, and said, hither shall you come, but no further, and there shall you And here shall you proud waves be stayed, as you commanded the morning since the days, and caused the day spring to know his place, that it might take hold of the ends of the earth, that the wicked might be shaken out of it. It is turned as clay to the seal, and they stand as a garment. And from the wicked their light is withholden, and the high arm shall be broken. As you enter into the springs of the sea, or as you walked in search of the depth, have the gates of death been opened unto you, or has you seen the doors of the shadow of death? As you perceive the breath of the earth, declare if you know it all.
All right. So Yahweh's really asking some questions to Job, but then those questions can be asked to any of mankind. Because none of us was there. None of us understand that. But yet man comes up with his theories to fit his own wicked imagination. When Yahweh's laid this stuff out plain and simple. There's no need to go searching for no theory. We've got the practical. The author and the finisher laid it all out. So you wouldn't have to go try to figure out what he put together. You know, the next thing I want to look at is we keep going through these calendars. So let's take a look at Yahweh's calendar, Enoch's calendar, and the Gregorian calendar. But first, we're going to back it up. We're going to leave Yahweh's set up for last. All right, my brother, start with the Enoch calendar for me, please.
The Enoch calendar is an ancient calendar system described in the book of Enoch. It divided the year into 364 days with 4 seasons of 13 weeks each. The calendar was based on observation of the sun and solar year.
So Enoch was supposed to be, you've got 2 Enochs, and this is what a lot of people don't understand. There was an Enoch before the Enoch that was taken, right? Yahweh explained to us back in Genesis the setup of things. Enoch came way after Genesis, after the setup of things, I should say. Now, Yahweh set up a lunar solar system. But this man that he took up to him is supposedly now just come back with a solar setup only. But we keep trying to give this credit of this calendar to a righteous man. Then why would he come back with something unrighteous that goes against what Yahweh set up? If it goes against what Yahweh set up, that means he's trying to discredit Yahweh, right? Okay, go ahead, priest.
Key features. The year was divided into 12 months of 30 days, plus 4 intercalary days. The 31st day of every third month was named instead of numbered. The calendar was based on observation of the sun and solar year. The calendar was more precise and solar focused than many other ancient calendar systems. How the calendar worked? The calendar year started on the 4th Yom.
You know, I want to pause there for a second. The 31st day of every third month was named instead of numbered. Did you all catch that? Because when you go back to the week, only one day had a name. Everything was numbered. Mm-hmm. All right, go ahead.
The calendar year started on the 4th Yom, when the sun, moon, and the stars were created. The spring equinox separated the calendar years.
So everything else before the creation of the sun and the moon don't matter in his calendar. Those are your 0 days. Mm-hmm. Okay? Go ahead.
The calendar's structure was closely tied to observation of the sun and the solar year. The Julian calendar. The Julian calendar was a solar calendar used from 46 BC until it was replaced by the Gregorian calendar. It was established by Julius Caesar as a reform of the Roman calendar. Key features. A year has 365 days plus an extra leap day every 4 years. The year started on January 1st instead of March 1st.
So they're putting it in their writings how they switch stuff around and their year began. But we see that they continue with the same thing that Enoch did. We're keeping it solar. Go ahead.
The calendar had 12 months, with most months having 30 or 31 days, and February having 28 days in a common year and 29 days in a leap year. History. Caesar established a calendar based on the Egyptian solar calendar, which had a year of 365 and a quarter days.
So now we see where the theory really comes from. Based upon the Egyptian solar calendar. Go ahead.
The Julian calendar was not entirely accurate, as the Earth's orbit around the sun is actually about 11 minutes shorter than 365 and a quarter days. The Julian calendar was eventually replaced by the Gregorian calendar, which has a slightly different rule for leap years.
All right, let's go to Isaiah chapter 24. Isaiah chapter 24, and we're going to read verses 4 through 6.
Behold, Yahweh maketh the earth empty, and maketh it waste, and turn it upside down, and scatter abroad the inhabitants thereof. And it shall be, as with the people, so with the priest, as with the servant, so with his master, as with the maid, so with her mistress, as with the buyer, so with the seller, as with the lender, so with the borrower, as with the taker of interest, so with the giver of interest to him. The land shall be utterly empty and utterly spoiled. Yahweh has spoken this word. The earth mourneth and faded away. The world languishes and faded away. The haughty people of the earth do languish. Keep going.
Yes, verse 6.
The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws, changed the ordinance, broken the everlasting covenant.
So there we go. The earth also is defiled under the inhabitants thereof, because they have transgressed the laws. What laws? The Yahweh's laws. Changed the ordinances. Broken the everlasting covenant. Go ahead, priest.
Therefore has the curse devoured the earth, and they that dwell therein are desolate. Therefore the inhabitants of the earth are burned, and few men left.
All right. Go ahead and read about the Gregorian calendar for me, please.
Gregorian calendar. The Gregorian calendar is the solar calendar used in most of the world today.
We're back to it being a solar calendar. We see that ever since this Enoch thing, we consistently have everybody creating a solar-only calendar. Go ahead.
It was introduced in 1582 by Pope Gregory.
Here we go. A pope is what? The Pope come from where? Here go these Catholic people again with their hands in the cookie jar. Go ahead.
1582 by Pope Gregory XIII to replace the Julian calendar. How it works. The Gregorian calendar is made up of 12 months, with each month containing 30 or 31 days. February has 28 days, or 29 in a leap year. The calendar is based on the idea that it takes the sun the same number of days to pass through each of the zodiac constellations.
Now we're throwing the zodiac in here. Go ahead.
The names of the months come from a mix of Latin names, including those of Roman emperors, planets, and gods. Why it was created. The Gregorian calendar was created to correct inaccuracy in the Julian calendar, which had been in use since 46 BCE. The calendar reform adjusts the timing of Easter, so that it better align with the spring season. It is clear that all these calendars were developed with the sun being the leading factor. But why will Enoch, if this is the Enoch that Yahweh took, find it necessary to go against what Yahweh had already established?
All right, let's go to Psalms 104. Psalms 104, and we're going to read verses 19 through 27. That is the question, my friend. If this is Yahweh's chosen individual, why would he go against what Yahweh had already created and set up and established?
Verse 19. He appointed the moon for seasons. The sun knoweth his going down. You make it darkness, and it is night, wherein all the beasts of the forest do creep forth. The young lion roar after their prey, and seek their meat from Elohim. The sun arise, they gather themselves together, and lay them down in their dens. Man go forth unto his work, and to his labor until the evening. O Yahweh, how manifold are your works. In wisdom has you made them all. The earth is full of your riches. So is this great and wide sea, wherein are things creeping, innumerable, both small and great beasts. There go the ships. There is that Leviathan, whom you has made to play thereon. These wait all upon you, that you may give them their meat in due season. That you give them, they gather. You open it your hand, they are filled with good. You hide your face, they are trouble. You take it away their breath, they die and return to their dust. You send it forth your spirit, they are created, and you renew the face of the earth. The glory of Yahweh shall endure forever. Yahweh shall rejoice in his work.
So if Yahweh is supposed to rejoice in his works, then why would he let somebody else discredit his works? And that's what we've seen and read here tonight. These people constantly coming up with their own theories and thought processes that go against what Yahweh has set forth. So are you not discrediting what the author and finisher has put forth? But like I said, these are things that we were taught in school. This became a part of the curriculum. Then when you have somebody come up and say, well, I'm an atheist, that's because at that point they're saying, I don't know what to believe. I don't know which way to go. But we see the biggest pushers of this thing came out of the Catholic Church, who was then setting forth the mindset of individuals, which then leads right down to the lake of fire. This is why we have to continue to stay in our book and continue to read. And as we read, we see it's simple. Yahweh didn't create any confusion. Even with their theories, there's holes within the thought process that even other scientists are saying, well, I don't know if I can get with you on that 100%. So what does that mean those other scientists are doing? Trying to come up with their own theory. So when you got theory versus theory versus theory versus theory, you're just creating more confusion. And at some point, somebody just throws up their hands and say, you know what? I don't want to deal with any of it. But all this stuff is discrediting what's in the book. A man comes up and says that man came from monkey. I don't think I'd ever come up with that theory and say that I came from an ape. How does a man come up with the theory that he comes from an ape? Makes no sense. If I'm going to come up with what I'm created from is going to be a higher being. Which Yahweh did say, you're gods, but small g. But man come around and said, no, so if you come from monkeys, you are a monkey. You are what your father was, right? Or you're what so if we descended from monkeys, then we still monkeys. Am I wrong? I mean, hey, I'm baffled. My brother, where we're at. Yahweh's calendar is based on the biblical calendar, which is a lunar solar calendar that uses both sun and moon. The calendar is outlined in Leviticus 23 of the Bible. Go ahead, my brother. Can you read the rest of that for me, please?
How is Yahweh calendar structured? The day begins and ends at sunset.
Man's day begins when?
In the middle of the night.
Midnight, in the middle of the night. Begins then and ends then. Which makes absolutely no sense. If you look at it, just vision it. It got dark at about 8 o'clock, right? At about 8 o'clock Thursday, it became night. And at 12 o'clock Thursday is going to begin a new day. But it's still dark. And that's going to come back around to midnight. Do we see how we never have a full, complete night in one day? Because if the darkness is at 8 and it breaks up at 12 o'clock and then it gets sunlight at 6 o'clock, the night is constantly split between 2 days. No day since these calendars that they've set up has had a full night. If I'm wrong, correct me. Does it make sense? Do you see it? It's okay to say no, you don't see it. But this is what man had given us out of his own thought process. With Yahweh's system, it starts at sunset. Complete night that day, come back around to sunset. So you got a complete night, darkness, complete, light, back to darkness. Simple. Nothing that takes mathematical equations that we heard about and scientific theories, and doesn't take any of that. But sometimes we don't think that things can be as simple as it is. When I started out as a rookie technician doing telecommunications, that was one of the things the lead tech used to say to me. Rookie, it's not as hard as you think it is. When there was a trouble on a system, the thought process is always something complicated. Then I finally learned, just start at your basics. The scriptures is the basics. Bible, B-I-B-L-E, my definition, basic instructions before life everlasting. Because guess what? We all going to have everlasting life. But where are you going to have everlasting life? Will it be in the lake of fire? Or will it be on a renewed earth? This is basic instructions before life everlasting. If we get back to the basics, we always hear that. People always at some point say, get back to the basics. It's not as complicated as they're making it to be. And once we start to walk in these basic principles and apply these basic principles, salvation's at the end of the road. But we have to apply And the more we apply it, the easier it becomes. Yeah, our mind and our thought process gets in the way, but we got to keep keeping on. Is there anything else, my brother?
Still,
Continue.
The week begins on day 1 and ends on the Sabbath, day 7. The month begins with the new moon. The year begins with Abib, which is the end of March, beginning of April. How is Yahweh calendar used? The Bible instructs people to use the new moon to determine the beginning of each new month. The days of the months are counted to determine when the feasts and appointed times will occur. The appointed times must be confirmed by the new moons and Abib early years.
Let's go to Job chapter 40, and we're going to read verses 1 through 12. That's Job chapter 40. We're going to read verses 1 through 12.
Verse 1. Moreover, Yahweh answered Job and said, shall he that contended with the Almighty instruct him? He that reproveth Elohim, let him answer it.
So, in all these things, man does not see that they're contending with Yahweh. And who wants to go instruct Yahweh? Who wants to be that brave to go instruct him? Go ahead.
Then Job answered Yahweh and said, behold, I am vile. What shall I answer you? I will lay mine hand upon my mouth.
Smart man. Go ahead.
Once have I spoken, but I will not answer. Yea, twice, but I will proceed no further. Then answered Yahweh unto Job out of the whirlwind and said, gird up your loins now like a man. I will demand of you and declare you unto me. Will you also disannul my judgment? Will you condemn me, that you may be righteous?
And that's what we see. All of this is to look some type of way. To seem like you're so educated, like you're so smart. As you look at the picture, we read that most of them were these people. Holier than thou. You have to go that far to seem so righteous? Go ahead.
Verse 9. As you an arm like Elohim, or can you thunder with a voice like him? Deck yourself now with majesty and excellency, and array yourself with glory and beauty. Cast abroad the rage of your wrath, and behold everyone that is proud, and abase him. Look on everyone that is proud, and bring him low, and tread down the wicked in their place.
Now, as we continue to look at the slide that's up there, right? You see the outfits, right? It says, deck yourself now with majesty and excellency, and array yourself with glory and beauty. Isn't that some fine-looking clothing they have on? Go ahead, priest.
Hide them in the dust together, and bind their faces in secret. Then will I also confess unto you that your own right hand can save you. Behold now, Behemoth, which I made with you. He eateth grass as an ox.
All right, that's all, my brother. As we approach the first set of holy days, I can see that we're all going through something. For some, it is despair and not necessarily about the word. For some, it's an overwhelming feeling with no place to put it, no place to put that feeling, or even what it's about. Yeah, I've been looking around the room as we've all gathered, and we all going through something. Some of us more than others. I see a brother in the corner smiling, but if we really pay attention to each other, everybody's been going through something one way or another. And the point of it all is that as we're going through it, we don't know what it is or where to place this feeling. So let me see if I can help out a little bit. According to the National Alliance on Mental Illness, Howard County, MD, This may be due to the fact that the colder seasons can promote the onset of mental health issues such as seasonal depression, major depressive disorder, and anxiety disorder. It is said that the reduced level of sunlight in fall and winter may cause winter onset seasonal affect disorder. They break it down, SAD. Okay? The acronym for it is SAD. Seasonal affective disorder. SAD. A drop in serotonin, a brain chemical neurotransmitter that affects mood, might play a role in SAD. The winter season is known for daylight saving, which is correlated with reduced sunlight, potentially causing a drop in serotonin that may trigger depression. Those with major depressive disorder may experience a worsened version of their symptoms. So if you had no place to put it, there we go. All right? So we'll help each other through this. It's probably got a few more weeks. We'll make it. We're going to be all right. Let's not devour one another. But let's not crawl into a hole either and don't reach out for help. Get out. Let's go to Hebrews chapter 12. Hebrews chapter 12, and we're going to read verses 3 through 17.
You know, a priest.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Talking about that depression.
Yes, sir.
You know, so I drive trucks, and like one of the places that I went to was Washington State, and you know it rains a lot out there, and it's always depressing. Like coming from Arizona, there was a lot of sunlight, and then you hit that, and you could feel the difference. And I never really understood that, and understood the power of the sun, because I realized hey, whenever you feel like that, sometimes it's good to get out from the house,
right.
Being in a place where it's constantly dark,
right,
and go maybe sit in the sun. You know what I mean? It do help.
Well, you see, that's the whole point, is having the strength to fight, to get out, to say, you know what, I feel myself going in this direction. Let me get out. Instead of just saying, oh, I don't feel like it. And all you do is you just fall deeper into a slump. And at some point you end up lashing out on somebody who don't even deserve it because you've allowed yourself to get sad. Hebrews chapter 12, we're going to start at verse 3.
Verse 3. For consider him that endureth such contradiction of sinners against himself, lest you be wearied and faint in your minds.
And that's the key right there. Your mindset is where the battle begins. Go ahead. You
have not yet resisted unto blood, striving against sin, and you have forgotten the exhortation which speaketh unto you as unto children. My son, despise not you the chastening of the Adonai, nor faint when you are rebuked of him. For whom the Adonai love, he chasteneth, and scourgeth every son whom he receiveth. Now, do we understand the difference of the chastening of the Adonai versus us putting ourselves into situations and bringing problems upon ourselves? That's what we have to realize, the difference. Because a lot of times we put ourselves in the situation and say, oh, the Most High got me going through this. No, you got you going through that. Especially like how we were just talking about the depression. If you staying in the house and having these crazy thought processes, you are the one putting you through that. Don't blame your Elohim for that. You have the ability to make a couple steps and be outside the door and get some fresh air. Go ahead. Bro, can I tell a quick story? Sure. I just went through this right here, something old that I struggled with, kind of I allow myself to creep back in, and I slipped up and I transgressed against my Elohim. So I went to work, and I got to the truck. I start my truck up, and all the lights was out. Couldn't figure out what was going on. I was like, let me take a break. Went to the trailer, turned the trailer on. The trailer is running. And all of a sudden, it throw a code, and it was saying it was low on fuel, but it was full of fuel. So I was like, man, what's going on? What's going on? And then boom, it came back to me on what I did. And in the process of that, I was like, you know what? I got you, Yahweh. I'm not going to do this again. Not saying that I ain't going to be weak and be put in a position where I'm tempted to do it, but I got you. And I really appreciate it because it could have been worse than what it is. And here's the amazing part of it. So I ended up going to the carrier place to get the refrigerator unit checked on. So this is like 4 o'clock in the morning. Well, actually 2 o'clock in the morning, and I'm sitting there, and I was like, let me go lay down. And about 45 minutes later, the unit came on. So I figured, like, it was the mechanic working on it. So I was like, I'm gonna wait for him to do what he do, and then I'm gonna get up and go see him. But I never did that, and I fell asleep, and nobody came and got me. Then I woke up, and I was like, man, I don't think nobody was here. So now I'm doubting myself. I was like, man, hold up, is it Yahweh showing me, like, hey, what I'm capable of doing? But I'm saying all that, man, is like, it's funny I'm reading this, but I appreciate that he chasing me, and it could have been worse.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Hey, man, we have to understand, like I said, his chastening versus when you put yourself in that situation.
Yep.
And bring chastisement. You chastising yourself.
Mm-hmm.
How many people you see actually pick up a belt and beat themselves? Go ahead, priest.
Verse 7. For if you endure chastening, Elohim deal with you as with sons. For what son is he whom the Father chasten not?
So let's understand that. If you endure chastening, Elohim deals with you as with sons. But most of us want it to be over as quick as possible. It says, if you endure it, that means he's putting you through to see if you're worthy to be son or daughter. Go ahead.
But if you be without chastisement, excuse me, whereof all are partakers, then you are bastard and not sons.
Now, you see verse 8, right? Because most of us get into this woe is me. It says, but if you be without chastisement, whereof all are partakers. That means everybody got to go through it, right? Then you are bastards and not sons. But can you endure? Can you endure to be son or daughter? Job endured. Job went through it. And as we read, Job was an upright man. But there was still something within him that Yahweh needed him to deal with. Go ahead.
Furthermore, we have had fathers of our flesh which corrected us, and we give them reverence. Shall we not much rather be in subjection unto the Father of spirits and life and live? For there verily for a new days chasten us after their own pleasure, but he for our profit, that we might be partakers of his holiness. Now no chastening for the present seemeth to be joyous, but grievous. Nevertheless, afterward it yielded the peaceable fruit of righteousness unto them which are exercised thereby.
Now, this peaceable fruit of righteousness, right, comes at sitting and meditating. And most of us can look back to when we got butt whoopings, and when you stop, you were wrong. You did something to deserve it.
Mm-hmm.
That's where that peaceable fruit of righteousness comes in, because you say, I ain't going to do that no more. Wasn't joyous at the time. Few there be that don't sit back and meditate on going through trials and tribulations. Go ahead, priest.
Wherefore, lift up the hands which hang down, and the feeble knees, and make straight path for your feet, lest that which is lame be turned out of the way, but let it rather be healed. Follow peace with all men, and holiness, without which no man shall see the Adonai. Looking diligently, lest any man fail of the grace of Elohim, lest any root of bitterness springing up trouble you, and thereby many be defiled. Lest there be any fornicator or profane person, as Esau, who for one morsel of meat sold his birthright. For you know how that afterward, which he will have inherited, when he would have inherited the blessing, he was rejected, for he found no place of repentance, though he sought it carefully with tears.
All right. So as we've gone through this, let's sit down and meditate. You know, like I said, I know we all going through something, but we gotta pull in them feelings. We gotta pull the reins in them feelings and hold them back and make sure we're not lashing out at the wrong person or let that root of bitterness spring up. We are coming into springtime. So all this stuff that's been dormant through the winter, let's make sure it don't spring up and spring out at the wrong time and on the wrong person. As we have been commanded to clean up our physical dwellings of leaven, let us be mindful to also clean our spiritual dwelling of the leaven we have residing there as well. Let's use the same due diligence to search every crevice of our heart as we do with label reading. I think at the bottom of that slide there should be an option to press a button there. All right, and that's how it begins. That's all we're going to do for this evening. Shalom. Enjoy your new moon.
All right. Shalom.